2023. One of the biggest winners in free agency were the Atlanta Hawks, who got one of the most highly coveted guards in Nickeil Alexander-Walker on a 4-year, $62 million deal. To the Western Conference, the Clippers. They bolstered their front court. They added 2021 NBA champion Brook Lopez, who agreed to a 2-year, $18 million deal. And now he's also close to Disneyland. We know he's a big Disney fan for sure. Which left the void, by the way, of Milwaukee at center. Insert now 10-year vet Miles Turner, who agreed to a 4-year, $107 million deal with the Bucks. Turner leaves the reigning Eastern Conference champs in one of the biggest shockers of the offseason. But to make all of this happen, the Bucks had to free up some money, which resulted in waiving Damian Lillard in stretching and his remaining $113 million deal. All right, that's already what's happened, but some big names still available. So, you know we got to go coast to coast now. First up, Russell Westbrook. He's coming off a productive season with the Nuggets where he averaged over 13 points and 6 assists per game. Mark, what's the best landing spot for Russ?
Well, one thing I know he wants to do is be closer to home. The Kings are certainly interested in him. Sacramento, I think that might be a good spot for him.
All right, moving on. Chris Paul coming off a season where he became the first player in NBA history to play all 82 games in the 20th season or later. So, Ramona, what's the best spot for CP3?
Well, you know, another one who wants to play close to home. He lives here in Los Angeles. And how about a reunion with the Phoenix Suns? I know we've been talking about that for a few days. I still think that's the most likely spot that he ends up in. Devin Booker loves him. They had a great thing going. And what have we said for the past 2 years? They lack leadership. You got one of the best leaders in sports right out there.
All right, next up, Al Horford shot a career-low 42.3% last season. Still played ridiculous defense, over 100 made three-pointers for the third straight year. So, Brian, what about Al Horford?
He's valued by everybody in the league. He has lots of different options, including retirement. But if he decides to indeed continue his career, the Golden State Warriors have been very aggressive in trying to bring him in. He would fit well anywhere.
Perfect.
But obviously, the Lakers are badly in need of a center, so they have been involved with that too. So I would expect there's a decent chance if he continues his career, it's out here on the West Coast with either Golden State or LA.
So we'll keep an eye on where Al Horford will be. And lastly, Josh Giddey, post-All-Star break. Giddey was incredible, averaging nearly a triple-double while shooting 50% from the field, 46 from three. So, Bobby, what's a good fit for Josh Giddey?
Oh, the power of restricted free agency. The only fit is Chicago for Josh Giddey here. Certainly when you look at the market has dried up. There is no teams out there with cap space. Certainly when you look at what the Bulls can offer, it's going to have to be on a compromise as far as where he's going to be. He could sign that 1-year qualifying offer and then become a free agent again next offseason. But for right now, it's Chicago just because of the lack of cap space.
Free agency is only a couple of days in, but there are some pretty solid players still available. DeAndre Ayton, Damian Lillard, obviously, as we mentioned, will be available once they clear waivers, and a good group of restricted free agents, including Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Grimes, and Cam Thomas. Previously the Nets. Let's head out to Milwaukee, where the Bucks shook up the league yesterday by waiving Dame Lillard and reaching a 4-year, $107 million deal with former Pacer big man Miles Turner. It's been a bit over 24 hours since Shams broke the news in Milwaukee. With a day to digest now, let's ask you guys what you think. Brian, what'd you make of it?
Well, I thought it was very creative. You know, full points for creativity and audacity.
If you're scoring in gymnastics.
You know, ESPN Bet, they put out the odds after it, and the Bucks have the 8th best odds.
Wow.
To win the East.
Oof.
Oh.
So my concern, if I'm a Bucks fan, I really appreciate ownership doing this. Let me just say, as a Cleveland Browns fan, you know, it was kind of risky for Deshaun Watson to be traded for 3 first-round picks and then be given the largest guaranteed contract in the history of the sport. Jimmy Haslam is the same owner. He owns the Bucks, one of the co-owners of the Bucks, and to do the biggest buyout in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's audacious. My concern for their forthcoming pitch to Giannis to want to be there long-term is that it didn't move the needle enough. And that's nothing against Miles Turner, who is an excellent player in his prime.
It's the rest of the roster.
It's just to do what they did, which was their last card to play, and an extremely penal card to, you know, maybe move the ball along the football analogy just a few yards down the field. Yeah, I'm a little bit, you know, squeamish about that.
Well, I would say this. we look at rosters when you're in the front office in a 3-year window, especially under this collective bargaining agreement. You have to strategize not just for now, but for the future. When you're looking at it in a situation for Milwaukee, it's day to day.
Yeah.
That's how you have to do it. I mean, especially when you have a generational player like Giannis on your roster. Some people called it reckless. Some people called it desperation. I would have done it.
Yeah.
I would have done it. And you know what I would have said? Someone else can clean up my mess 3 years from now.
Yeah.
When I'm not here because Giannis just left.
Yeah.
That's what I would have
Right.
said. And it's a huge number. It's $23 million that will never leave. It's not, we can't trade that player.
Yeah.
It's $23 million. Now, for the rest of the roster, that's going to be, we'll see what happens here, but you had to go out and do that. 5 years, $22.5 million, because they, as Brian said, there was no other rabbit in the hat to pull out. There was no other card to play. There was no draft picks that you were going to trade there.
Well, Ramona, I'll tee you up then. Have they done enough in regards to ultimately keeping Giannis in Milwaukee?
I mean, he's the only one who's going to know that, and my sense is just from conversations around, like, I don't think anything will be decided on his end until August, September, because big deals or anything like that, whether he goes or stays, that kind of decision doesn't come till later in the summer. But for me, we have teams in the NBA right now, and they all have a choice. There's a new CBA. Do you want to be disciplined or do you want to be aggressive? Because we all sat up here last year. We were talking, the Philadelphia 76ers won the offseason.
Right.
What are the Clippers doing, letting Paul George go for nothing? Remember that? I think I tried to defend the Clippers a little, saying, look, it's a new CBA. The second apron is like winter is coming. They understood how serious it was. And guess what? The Clippers look pretty smart right now. They look pretty smart right now for being disciplined. But also, I know where Bobby is too. When you have a generational superstar, how do you sleep at night? If he leaves and you didn't do everything and you didn't play every card that you can play to try to keep that guy, even if it's not the best hand. They don't have the best hand. This is like, if you're a poker player, this is like Jack 10 offsuit.
Yeah.
Okay? But sometimes you hit a flop. Maybe they'll hit a flop. Maybe the price for Giannis would be too high and no one will want to do it. Maybe they can keep him through the trade deadline and they can go on a run. That's what you got to do.
We'll see how it all unfolds for sure. I don't think, to your point, I don't think anyone really knows, but only Giannis will have to figure that out for us, and we'll see how that goes from there. But let's talk about Dame at this point and what the next steps are for him as he gets ready to return. Mark, you've been all over the reporting on Dame. What do you feel are some potential landing spots for Dame?
Well, I don't have a bam or a boom, but I got a list.
Okay,
All right.
there we go.
There you go. Let's go with a wild card. You want to throw a wild
Yeah,
card?
Sure, let's start with the wild
I
card.
got a top 5.
Okay.